Look at that. This is Valletta. It's the capital of Malta, a tiny island south of Sicily, right in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. It's a fabulous place. It's a pretty beautiful place to visit, and lots of people do. 1.2 million tourists come every year to join the roughly 500,000 residents. And I'm not surprised they come here either. It's steeped in history, there's great architecture, and the people are really friendly, very, very hospitable. But there is a problem. Malta is a holiday destination, but it's not just for people. You see, birds stop here on migration in autumn and in spring, and when they do, they're in danger of getting shot. You see, this country is unique in the European Union. It's the only place where hunters legalise themselves to shoot birds in spring. And their legalised targets are quail and turtle dove, which they eat. This is, I mean, the level of gunfire this morning is more than ever, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a turtle dove here as well.
Boy. Oh, I've got it. I've got it. It's the first
someone
turtle dove.
took a shot at it. I saw some feathers coming out, but it's still flying. Up, 3, still going. 4, it's coming down. No, coming down. Oh, it fell off. Boom. It fell off quite close to here, actually.
That was one turtle dove. And we saw it out here. They must have fired about, I don't know, in total, 10 shots at it. Puff of feathers comes out. Gradually, it lost altitude and it's come down. So it's probably wounded. It's dying. Oh, yeah. Not all birds here are legal quarry. Hunters, you see, seemingly take shots at anything, even protected species. During my visits to Malta, I've seen injured or dead kestrels, marsh harriers, little bitterns, cuckoos, hoopoes, swallows, just to name a few. If they weren't shot, this would be an amazing bird list, and it is possible to get stonking views of migrating birds, as I discovered when I was watching Montagu's harriers coming in to roost. And let's face it, these are Britain's rarest breeding raptor, but here in Malta, you get good numbers on migration.
There's been a push of harriers.
We saw them coming in, and they went down in the dark. We saw all of that, but then what happened?
Then people lamping, shots in the valley.
Lamping? You mean they're going out with torches?
They're going with torches in the field, and obviously they're, you know, aiming to shoot the birds.
So it's not even under the pretense of shooting turtle doves or quail that this is happening. Hunters are going out at night and they're deliberately targeting these species whilst they're on the ground. And that is not legal, and it's not sporting either, is it? A bird had been brought in, a Montagu's harrier. It's a stunning, stunning bird, but it's got a really horrible injury.
We will see a pellet here, and it is right sitting in the joint.
So this bird is one of the 80% that just won't make it.
No, this is not really a painful procedure, even though that it's a horrible thing. Sorry, old bird. So what I would like is if you could just hold the head a little bit. Yeah. I would need the abdomen here, because I will come from here. Okay.
This is madness, absolute madness. Sorry, but it's just, Watching birds in Malta is a bitter-sweet experience. Oh, what a bird. For every good view you get, you worry that the hunters are seeing the same thing, and instead of raising their binoculars, they might be raising a gun. But there are many people in Malta who really love birds, and they're dedicated to watching and protecting them.
Joe. Hello, hi. How are you?
I went to meet Joe Sortana, who's been campaigning against this issue for decades. What a fantastic view you've got from your garden and from your house.
It's a nice view, except when you see the hunters running about. Then it's not a nice view at all. This shooting, you know, it's been going for years and years and years. It has always been widespread. And the market used to be full of Nigers and Scop sows and bee-eaters and everything at that time, because everything was shot for food. The difference is now that they shoot for fun. It is unethical. I mean, birds are moving from Africa in spring to Europe to breed.
I came out and looked out of your window over this fantastic landscape. I've seen golden oriole. I've seen red-footed falcons flying by.
We had the bee-eaters also.
Bee-eaters flying over. I mean, it's an ornithological nirvana. Yeah. And yet, from your living room, you hear a gunshot, you look out the window, and something beautiful, that you love and have spent a lifetime campaigning to protect, falls from the sky.
Well, if it is a protected species, I take action. I report. And there were times when I brought the police here.
Some people's dedication goes above and beyond, and they'll even put themselves in the firing line.
I was hit in the face here between the glasses with a shotgun pellet, my glasses, and also I had one lodged into my nose, which I was operated on.
You were lucky not to be blinded?
Yes, I was very lucky. And the second time I was patrolling the area just above here, the Foresta 2000 site, in the morning, and at 6 a.m. in the morning, I got out of the Land Rover, and somebody was waiting for me and took a shot towards me and hit me on the side of the head the second time.
Deliberately pointed a gun, pulled the trigger. They were trying to shoot you.
Oh, yes, the Land Rover lights were on. I know it was pitch dark, but they aimed at the Land Rover and hit me in the side of the head.
And what happened on that occasion?
I had mostly shock, and I had my ear was swollen up to double the size.
So you had pellets in the side of your head?
Yes, again.
Intimidation is unfortunately very common.
Stop shooting! Stop shooting!
He's filming me!
Stop shooting! Don't provoke!
If you go back there...
Don't provocate me! Don't provocate me!
He is filming
Don't
me!
provocate me!
We're not shooting him.
Don't provocate me!
We're
Stop shooting!
He is filming me. This is a public space.
Why you stop here? Why you stop here? Why?
This is a public place.
You can't stop there. You can't stop there. Okay? You can't stop there. Come on, we're Maltese. We don't come in your country and do what you want.
Sometimes the law seems to aid the hunters and hinder those who are trying to stop illegal shooting. 4 3/4 hours, I think. I was taken in voluntarily. I went voluntarily. I was searched and I had my phone taken away. And I then was interviewed by 2 police officers, Inspector Vella and Maria Tonna. And they initially were going to arrest me so that I would have to make a statement under caution. They reconsidered and offered me the opportunity to make a voluntary statement. I spoke to Mr. Raganese on the telephone, and he advised me that I could make a voluntary statement and there was no need to sign it. So that's what I've been doing subsequent to that. And the reason why I was called in was because the FKNK, the hunting lobby here, have raised a complaint through their lawyers, which means that the police are obliged to investigate it, accusing me of defamation of their members and also transgressions of data protection. Needless to say, I wasn't charged with any wrongdoing and was free to leave the island the next morning. Following a year of sustained pressure, Malta held a referendum on the 11th of April 2015 for the people to vote for or against spring hunting. Voting turnout was high. 74.8% of the population made their opinion heard. And we were optimistic that this would bring about an end to the shooting of birds in spring. Sadly, after a drawn-out campaign on both sides, the vote yes to continue spring hunting won by a margin of less than 2%. How did everyone feel here in BirdLife Malta and all of the people in Malta who care about birds?
The first days, weeks, we really had to, speak to each other, chin up a bit, I think what also had our motivation is the support we had from people abroad, in particular people from UK, even including MEPs. We realized that there are people who care about nature even in Malta, because at the end of the day, nature and birds, they don't have borders, it's a world heritage.
The 2015 hunting season opened just days after the referendum, but it seemed like even though they were allowed to continue, the referendum had an effect on the levels of hunting.
I think they are concerned that maybe even this little bit of hunting will be stopped for them. So maybe they try to move a little bit towards more legal hunting situations.
So they're trying to behave themselves, you think?
Yes, I think they are behaving a little bit better than they used to.
But even when they're on their best behaviour, they just can't help shooting some protected species. In 2015, a kestrel was shot and fell into a school playground, forcing the Prime Minister to close the hunting season a few days early. The pressure from the hunting lobby is enormous, but we have science on our side. Turtle doves were placed on the IUCN Red List as vulnerable in 2016 in response to their dramatic decline across Europe and notably in the UK. As we learn more about breeding bird populations across Europe, we can determine the best conservation measures for them, including stricter regulations on hunting during their migration. BirdLife Malta are contributing to this data by putting satellite tags on turtle doves.
By fitting these tags, we know basically where do these birds go, the populations that cross the Maltese Islands or that pass here.
If we can show that the birds that are transiting through Malta are in populations which are in serious decline, then that will give us a greater ability to lobby for no more hunting of turtle doves, spring or autumn.
If we can show with tagging these birds that they actually come from threatened population, then we have a chance to lobby against them being still shot here during spring migration.
And autumn as well, for that matter.
Autumn as well, of course.
Pressure put on the European Union and the Maltese government by BirdLife Malta and other groups too contributed towards a moratorium being placed on hunting turtle doves during spring after the 2016 season finished. At last, it felt like progress was really being made. This year, 2017, the government upheld the moratorium on hunting turtle doves and moved the hunting season earlier. This meant that it was more likely to coincide with peak quail migration, a species that for now can still be legally shot in Malta in springtime. This was meant to avoid the temptation of the hunters turning on larger flocks of passing turtle doves. I headed out to Malta after the season had ended. By this time, BirdLife Malta had received many shot and injured birds, including this kestrel. This little kestrel has been shot during the shooting season this year. It was picked up by members of the public, it's been x-rayed, and it's got a broken wing. Very fortunately, the break in the wing is of only one of the two bones that are there. So the vet thinks there's a very good chance that it might heal, and therefore is being rehabilitated. The thing is, however, that this obviously has been shot illegally, and this year there were 15 birds that were handed in illegally shot. That's the tip of the iceberg, because the trespass laws here in Malta mean that you can't wander on to any of that land to pick up injured, dead or dying birds. So these are only birds that are being picked up in public places, typically by members of the public. So if 15 have come in, one can only imagine that there might be tens or even hundreds more that are out there, inaccessible, if you like. By the time I arrived in Malta, there shouldn't have been any hunters out with guns. So I joined Nick for an early morning walk to enjoy the bird migration. As we scanned the fields, we spotted birds in cages. Nick explained that these birds are often used by the shooting fraternity to entice others into their land.
For a migrating turtle dove, it attracts them so much, this call. Imagine like a turtle dove is coming in here, sees first landfall, settles down in the trees, hears the other turtle doves, it's completely lured into that area. And the problem is, some of them, you won't be able to see the whole structure. So, I mean, to convert that into a cage trap for turtle doves, it doesn't take much. All you need is another compartment with a hole on the top.
Yeah.
And that will just be trapping all the time.
Yeah.
You don't even need to sit next to it. It's just like passively trapping.
There are strict laws and regulations about keeping birds in cages, but public access to land is very restricted here. So actually determining whether these laws are being upheld is left to the police.
So it's got turtle doves, sparrows, collared doves and a moorhen at least in that cage, which is... I mean, it's not moorhen habitat either, is it? Why would anyone want to keep a moorhen in a cage out here like that? It's just... honestly. It's just sat there now.
The police turned up after 15 minutes and went with Nick to the property. But they didn't really seem able to check or enforce anything.
Now they're gonna wait for the Wild Birds Regulation Unit, the entity in government who's responsible with identifying the birds for the police, and they're gonna come here on Thursday. And this guy knows that on Thursday they will be arriving here.
So he can just hide them?
So today is Tuesday. Yeah, he's got 2 days to do whatever he wants there. By the time the WRU are alive, I think we will know what the outcome will be. That's the situation with enforcement.
When we were told that the Wild Birds Regulation Unit wouldn't be arriving for a couple of days, we decided to move on. But it wasn't long before we found another site that required police attention.
That other trap, that other cage has got collared dove in it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm gonna call the police again then. Hello, Nick mill-Bird Life. Mela, sibna mansab, qiegħed attiv għalla safar. Window tal-isom guva bit-toqob fiha.
The police were quick to respond, and to our surprise, they'd brought the Wild Bird Regulation Unit with them. Clearly, they'd turned up early. The police couldn't confirm any illegalities at this site, so we asked them if the Wild Bird Regulation Unit would be checking out the cage from earlier that day. They said yes, so we headed back to see the result of our reporting. But frankly, it soon became clear that we weren't quite so welcome on our second visit.
I don't believe it.
There's no birds.
There's not a single bird in that enclosure. Honestly, at this point in time, unless they're sheltering from the sun, I safely say there were no birds in that enclosure. He's emptied the lot out. No collared dove, no turtle dove, no starling, no moorhen, no goldfinch, no hawfinch. I can't see a single bird in there.
that means he's probably guilty.
Well, I mean, he could have been tipped off by anyone, really, that the Wild Bird Regulation Unit were arriving. He knew they were coming Thursday. That's 2 days away. I didn't imagine he would be in such a massive rush to deal with it. But the people on the ferry could have told the hunters on Gozo. They're all connected, aren't they? We've seen it when we were here before. They all talk to one another constantly on their mobile phone. They all text one another constantly. If he knew they were suddenly turning up today, he could have had an email, a text, a phone call. The thing is, the police saw the birds in there, so now they know they're all gone.
They had a list. They had a list of the birds.
Yeah. And he wrote that the birds, the hawfinch thing on there. It's not a bird. There's nothing in there. What a fiasco.
Stop filming! مش قد يفيلم 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 انا قاعد تفيلم هات ما تفيلم الدورش لام دورش كين هات ما تفيلم وجهكم لين انا انت عندك بروفوك مو get off from here move get off it's private property move go
This is not a private property, this is a
I don't care get out from here no filming go get away why are you looking at me do you think that I'm afraid of you yeah let's go Go in your car. هنمشي. اطلع لك ايوه Get in your car, please. And get away from here, from this area. You can't stay over here. Get in your car, please, and get away.
We're just loading up.
You, get in the car. She's loading up, not you. Get in the car, please.
Is this road private?
That property is private.
It's the road?
You can't film it the property.
Okay.
You can't film it the property.
Okay.
Okay? So get in your car and don't get out of the car.
But is the road private?
No, you can stay over here, but in your car. Not over there, in the private property. Stay in your car over here. You can't film in a private property. If I see you again, I will take legal action against you, for sure.
Whose side are they on, then?
We hung around at the car, waiting to know what happened at the cage. The policeman suddenly reappeared, with no news about the birds, but with a threatening request.
Okay, follow us to the police station.
Just spent the last 2 hours in this police station in Gozo after we were instructed to come back here by the police because 2 trappers who were present at the time claimed that I'd assaulted them. And so now on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock I have to come back to Gozo where I've been charged with using force against any person with an intent to insult, annoy or hurt them, and also for having at the same time pushed against any person with the object of hurting or insulting that person. Needless to say, and I'm sure I don't have to explain, I'm completely innocent of these charges. I wonder what the courts will be like. So there you go. Not guilty. Acquitted, obviously, because I was never guilty of those charges and we had such fantastic evidence in our back pocket, which I think surprised those who accused us.
With the Gozo fiasco resolved, I left Malta feeling just a little bit more positive about the future. You see, as BirdLife Malta and other scientific organisations reveal more about the status of spring migration over the island, then surely the other legalised practices of trapping and quail shooting will go the same way as the turtle-dove spring hunt.
We have beautiful countryside. This place could be so attractive even in winter and in spring for tourists. And this is what we want, really. Since this age of digital camera, now everybody can be a bird photographer, so there is no excuse. I mean, why take lives? Why not take photographs?
Let's face it, Malta could be a fantastic bird-watching destination if only the locals, the tourist industry, and of course the government saw the economic value of their wildlife. Maybe then they'd finally put an end to this hunting.
What a spectacular show. Honestly, this is worth a ticket price.
Next year, I look forward to returning with bird watchers to celebrate Malta as the fantastic birding destination that it very definitely should be.